Today, we're going to talk about something that is so fundamental to how we make sense of the world, but it's something we get wrong all the time. It's called causal inference. It's basically the science of looking past simple connections to find out what's really causing what. And to show you what I mean, let's just jump right in with a question. Okay, so let's start with something that sounds, well, a little nuts. Does eating ice cream make people drown? I mean, the obvious answer is no, of course not. That's ridiculous. But what if I told you the data tells a completely different story? Because here's the wild part. When you actually look at the numbers, you find this incredibly strong relationship. On days when ice cream sales spike, the number of drownings goes up right alongside them. The pattern is it's undeniable. The two things are absolutely connected. So, where does that leave us? If we follow the data, it leads to a pretty absurd conclusion, right? If we want to stop people from drowning, should we ban ice cream? This is exactly what's called the correlation trap. And to get out of it, we need a whole new way of thinking. And that new way of thinking, it's called causal inference. This is the tool that lets us look at a chart like the ice cream one and not get fooled. It's all about digging deeper to find the hidden forces, the real reasons things happen. And there's a fantastic model for how to do it. We can picture it like we're climbing a ladder. This is a brilliant metaphor called the ladder of causation, and it has 3 rungs. Each rung we climb represents a more powerful, more sophisticated level of thinking about cause and effect. We start by just seeing things, and we end up by imagining whole different realities. So let's start the climb. Okay, so we're starting on rung 1. This is the world of association. Honestly, this is where most of us, and even a lot of data science, lives most of the time. It's all about big data, machine learning, and just finding patterns. It's purely about observation. The only question you can really answer on this first rung is a simple one. How are these things related? We see that 2 things tend to happen together, or that, one thing helps us predict another. So let's go back to our ice cream example. On rung 1, we absolutely cannot say that ice cream causes drowning. All we can say is that they're associated. They show up together. Now, this is still useful. It's great for prediction. If you're a lifeguard and you see the ice cream truck is doing crazy business, you might predict, hey, I'm going to have a busy day. But it doesn't tell you why. For that, we got to climb high. So let's climb up to rung 2, intervention. And this is a huge leap. Here, we stop being just passive observers of the world, and we become active participants. We're not just seeing anymore, we're doing. The question we can ask now is so much more powerful. What happens if we act? What if we change something on purpose to see what happens? This is the world of scientific experiments, of A/B testing that tech companies are running all the time. We're deliberately poking the world to see how it reacts. And this is the key difference, right? Rung 1 thinking just says, sales are high when drownings are high. But rung 2 thinking asks an experimental question. What would happen to drowning rates if we actually banned ice cream for a week? Well, we'd run that experiment and pretty quickly find out that, nope, people still go swimming, and unfortunately, drownings still happen. By intervening, we'd have broken the correlation and proven there's no causal link. And in the process, we'd probably uncover the real cause, hot weather. That's the hidden variable that makes people both want to buy ice cream and go for a swim. Okay, now for the top of the ladder. This is the final and most powerful rung, counterfactuals. This is all about our ability to imagine and reason about things that didn't actually happen. This is the world of what if. The question that defines this level it's pretty profound. What if we had acted differently? This is about exploring alternate versions of the past to better understand why the present is the way it is. And honestly, it's something that makes us uniquely human. We do it all the time. I mean, think about it. We are constantly running these little what-if simulations in our own minds. What if I had taken the train instead of driving? Would I have been on time? What if I hadn't had that second cup of coffee? Where would I be today if I'd picked a different major? We're trying to understand the impact of our choices by imagining a world where we chose differently. This is the highest form of causal thinking. It's where concepts like regret and fairness and real, deep understanding come from. So we've climbed the whole ladder, from just seeing patterns to actively intervening, all the way up to imagining counterfactuals. Now, let's put this incredible way of thinking to the test with a real-world life or death problem from history. Okay, so picture this. It's the middle of World War II. Allied bomber planes are flying these incredibly dangerous missions over Europe, and they're getting shot down at a terrifying rate. The military knows they need to add more armor to protect the planes, but armor is super heavy. You can't just coat the whole plane in it or it won't fly. So the question was, where do you put the armor to get the most protection? So the engineers did what seems like the logical thing to do. They went out to the airfields and they studied every single plane that managed to make it back from a mission, and they carefully mapped out every single bullet hole. A very clear pattern emerged. The damage was clustered on the wings, the central body of the plane, and the tail section. So this led to a very obvious Ring 1 question. Based only on the data they could see, where should we add the armor? And the answer seems simple, right? You reinforce the places that are getting hit the most. Slap some more armor on the wings, the tail, and the fuselage. Case closed. But before they started welding extra plates onto the planes, the military consulted a brilliant mathematician named Abraham Wald. And Wald was a man who didn't just stay on the first rung of the causal ladder. Instead of asking where the bullet holes were, Wald climbed all the way to rung 3 and asked an absolutely game-changing counterfactual question. Where are the missing bullet holes? He wasn't focused on the data he could see, he was obsessed with the data he couldn't. And that insight was pure genius. The data the military was looking at was deeply systematically biased. It only included the survivors. The reason they weren't seeing any bullet holes on the engines or the cockpit of the planes that came back, it wasn't because those areas weren't getting hit. It's because any plane that did get hit there, well, it never made it back. This completely flipped the problem on its head. It led to a solution that was the exact opposite of the obvious one. The areas that looked untouched and safe on the returning planes were, in fact, the most critical vulnerabilities. Wald's recommendation was simple and profound. Armor the places where you see no damage on the survivors, armor the engines. And that story just perfectly captures what this is all about. True causal understanding, real wisdom. It isn't just about analyzing the information you have right in front of you. It's about having the imagination to ask about the information that's missing, to reason about the stories that the data isn't telling you. And that leaves us with one final question to think about. For you, in your job, in your life, when you're making a big decision based on what looks like solid evidence, what are the missing bullet holes? What are the stories of the survivors that you're paying attention to? And whose stories are you not hearing at all? Thinking that way, really thinking that way, it just might change everything. Thanks for watching.